in the last 10 months, shall we say, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, not everyone has been on the receiving end of really high energy and good things because we have that duality world, right? And again, when we talk about self sabotaging, it's given us a time and an opportunity to start to look within us, right? As sabotaging our futures, our nows, by allowing the past to kind of like take over, right?
Right.
So, Nicole, share a little bit with the audience what you do, how you got to where you are, and where it is that you want to take them, and exactly then what self sabotaging did for you to. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Overcoming Self Sabotage. Wow, we are so delighted to have you here, and we look forward to having you here throughout the whole summit. Today, my guest is Nicole Borghi. She is the ultimate sabotage smasher, and she is calling in from crazy, wild Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome, Miss Sabotage Smasher.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, Beverly. I am loving this energy here in Las Vegas and the changes that are going on right now.
Yeah, well, there has been a lot of changes in the last 10 months, shall we say, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, not everyone has been on the receiving end of really high energy and good things because we have that duality world, right? And again, when we talk about self sabotaging, it's given us a time and an opportunity to start to look within us, right? As far as where are we sabotaging our futures, our nows, by allowing the past to kind of like take over, right?
Right.
So, Nicole, share a little bit with the audience what you do, how you got to where you are, and where it is that you want to take them, and exactly then what self sabotaging did for you to make all of these changes possible.
Well, that's a great question because, I have years and years of experience sabotaging myself. So I am an expert at it. Absolutely. And I have decided to put it into a program of soulful coaching and working with people to elevate their mindset, elevate their emotions, find their self love, their self worth, and you know what? Change their mindset. Get that into that magical mindset where they feel empowered, they transform at a cellular level, and they recognize and acknowledge the things of the past that got them here and what they can do in the future to empower their abundance and bring in prosperity.
So, some of the experiences that you've had with your own personal self sabotaging, what was that transitional point? What was your biggest aha moment where you woke up and said, I'm done, I'm over it, I've got to stop this?
Well, there wasn't one time because when you sabotage, and I'm a sabotager, uh, you do it again and again. I'm done. I'm over it. And then you get away from it and you do it again in some different form. It's like a shadow that kind of just lurks behind you. And it's not anybody else. It's you. Even in relationships, the common denominator is you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're reliving the same program over and over and over again. You know, um, if you can't find a good job and you don't stay committed to the job, well, what's the common denominator? It's you. You didn't bring the same boss with you. You didn't bring the same coworkers with you. You know, you have to really look at what is it? You have to have some self-talk, and you have to just, hey, self, it's really time. It's that moment where you're like, you know what? This isn't working for me. I'm done with it. Really, really what the point of change was not only my health, and I had been in the hospital a lot when I was a child. And I want to ease that health. And I wanted to have a better life, a longer life, just a healthier day to day focus. And I didn't realize as I started to look into herbs and working with herbs and becoming the herbalist and the aromatherapist and looking into nutrition and changing my body, getting into the gym, working out, I realized that my body was starting to transform, but it would plateau. And I didn't understand why it was staying in the same place. It wasn't my body that was the problem. It wasn't my nutrition. It was my mental state, the environment here, the environment above, right in my crown chakra. It was all right in-house, and here was an old program I was reliving and reliving again. And so I constantly would get to the top, I'd start to do really successful, and then I'd just drop out. And, so I started to see that I couldn't perform past a certain peak. But it was, at one point when I started volunteering in hospice, and I would listen to people's stories. And at the end of life, people share, and they're willing to share their heart. They're willing to share their soul, and they're willing to kind of just bear it all, sometimes to a stranger because their family can't listen. But they tell you about their journey, how they got here, what they did. And they understand in hospice at the end of life, you would think that they just, oh, I'm going to give up. It's just a struggle. I don't want to be here. But they choose to be in hospice. They choose to be at a point where they can have their family surround them, they can have friends surround them, or they can have volunteers come in and just talk to them, share stories, watch TV, um, you know, and I was working with, I would bring in aromatherapy. I would do some Reiki on them. They knew when I came in that that was my modality and that was what I was going to share with them, is to try and ease that end of life, kind of like a death doula, just coming in there and just walking them through that end of lifetime and holding their hand as they transform into the afterlife from here. But realizing that, wait a second, I've got another 40 years. I've got another 60 years before I'm there. Wait a second, I don't have that deadly disease, or I combated my cancer. I got over my immunity issues. I combated the other, illnesses that I had and the reasons I was in the hospital all the time as a kid. Why am I having such a hard time accepting life? I could accept death, but I couldn't accept life. That was a wow. It was like, oh, you know what? I'm here on this planet for a reason and a purpose. And I know that I was meant to do something as a child. And I needed to look into that spiritually. Because when I was a child, I had a vision and a purpose, and I was driven, and I was open to everything. But as I got to be an adult, I closed off. I was angry. I was always sad. And I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to be at peace, just like the person in hospice, whether they were at home or in the hospital with a nurse 24 hours a day. I wanted to be at peace with myself, and I needed that.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think there's a lot of us out there that kind of are in that same dilemma. Yeah, and it's interesting that you say you could accept death, but you had a hard time accepting life. And when life throws us curves all the time and we're not living in an elevated state of peace, in harmony and things like that, it's easy to get caught up in the abyss of the pain and the suffering and the agony and the angers and,
Yeah.
all of that, right? And again, it becomes such second nature that we perform with it continuously to be able to have that aha moment and to work with hospice and be in that arena. Wow, what a beautiful way to have an awakening happen where here you are some peace in the final moments and just be a listener and just share to what these stories are. And when I've had an opportunity myself to be around death to that degree, but it's all about, I should have did this,
Right.
I didn't do that, and I wish I would have. So the
Right.
regrets come. And for me, that was like, wow. I I'm not going down with any regrets. And let me
No.
tell you, this little girl is like on fire doing whatever. So Nicole, when you are in that avenue now where you have kind of brought both worlds together in that understanding, and now you're working through all of that, this self-sabotaging, to really help others to recognize, what kind of advice would you share with the audience here on how does someone recognize that habit of self-sabotage? What does that actually look like? I know it's different for everyone, but what would be something that's universal that you could share with the audience to say, if these habits are happening or if these feelings show up, something to that degree that they can kind of grab onto to start paying attention, to become aware that they may be the ones behind their own personal sabotage.
Right. Absolutely. It's when you're ready to heal, when you're ready to open up and awaken your heart. And so that's the time. And in order to receive, your heart has to be open. You have to have the faith and the trust. And if you don't have those components, or refuse to try to work with that and find out where your faith, your trust, and your heart opening can be, where you're comfortable with that forgiveness, that's the first step, and recognizing that, right? The second step is really, what is your why? What is your purpose? What goal do you want to achieve? Well, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to conquer the imposter and you don't want to be the fraud anymore, what is your main goal? And even just defining one goal. Okay, I want to open a business. Let's say I want to have a healing business, but I need certificate A, B, and C. I need 100 years of practice, right? I mean, I'm over, going a little overboard, but do you really need that? Do you really need to spend $10,000 and get your Reiki license in Hawaii to be an official Reiki practitioner? You want certain classes and you do want to take that. So you understand the beginning of it and you need a teacher. And that's, however, once you get past a certain step, it's all in the application and the practice. So you really need to find out, what is your goal and how many steps does it take to get there? So just defining it simply, just writing it out, scripting it, because when you script it, you're spelling, you're putting the magic in there, the intention in there, and then you can bring it out orally. But you have to find out your why. Why do you want to achieve your goal? Who are you? What makes you unique? And how did you get here, right? How are you going to get to that next level? And once you find out your uniqueness, what tools and skills you bring to the table, what your magical brilliance is, then you can add the little bits in between. But you have to really start somewhere, and you have to be able to be open to say, okay, I'm defining this today. You don't want to be too general. You really want to get inside, what's your niche? What's your purpose? Do you want to have a charity? Do you want to, are you doing something because you're in a midlife crisis and you don't have any spirituality that you're feeling? You don't feel spirit, you don't feel guides, you don't feel your angels. Well, maybe it's because you're closed off. So then we have to define, okay, so your goal is to, be guided, be more open, do some healing work just for yourself. Those are goals you can reach, and how do you reach those goals? Yeah. And then once you define that, then you define what are the patterns that, and what is the mindset that is stopping you. Are you not enough? Do you not have enough fraud? Are you an overachiever? Is everything have to be perfect? Are you talented overachievers? And it happens a lot, especially with imposter syndrome, is you feel like you have to achieve one more, one more thing. And I'm not saying it doesn't take work. It takes work. But is the application practical? Can you just get some of that stuff, put it aside, and really focus on the one path? And then everything else will start to fill in. Everything else will start to fill in. What education do you bring to the table? I mean, I was in law enforcement, and what that taught me was boundaries. It taught me to say no. It taught me to feel okay with that. It taught me to read people's body language and understand and be aware of my surroundings. Well, as a soulful coach and as an intuitive, as a psychic medium, I need to be aware of what's going on around me so I can listen and hear the signs. But that's so important for to read body language and understand, are you sad? Are you happy? Are you hiding something? So I am able to take my skills and repurpose them and reframe them for my clients now, so I can help them and assist them. I'm not going to carry you on the journey on my back, because I've already taken the journey. It is for me to share and show you the way to enlightenment, the way to change, the way to develop and elevate your emotions, to find your self-worth. But we have to start with one place and move forward.
Wow. It's like, I am just like so in tune here. It's like, okay, keep going. Like, wow, I was getting really lost in this. This is like, whew, amazing information. Yeah, so what I'm understanding from everything that you're saying here, it begins with that trust in yourself, and really starting to figure out, like you said, your why. But more than just your why, it's who are you, right? To identify who you are. And sometimes we have to find out who we aren't to find out who we are, right? So in that processing is the why, and where you want to be and what you want to accomplish, and really starting to look at what are your personal assets.
Oh, yeah.
And then stay in that lane and become enthralled with those assets, whatever that might be. To be a business person, or to be maybe a financier, or a healer, as you said. Maybe you're an author, maybe you're a speaker, you're an entertainer, whatever that case is, to find that greatest asset within yourself. And then begin to do what? To believe in yourself. And then the believing and trusting in yourself leads you down that journey. And sometimes, with the coach, and being a soulful, mindful coach in the manner in which you are, is also helping someone to find that inner spiritual connection with their higher self and the power of what they really are capable of, right? And so by recognizing the things that we aren't, that's the things that are running autopilot from old information, right? That need to be smashed. That's the self-sabotaging events that need to be moved out of the way. So when you're working with a client and you begin recognizing some of the self-sabotaging habits that they have, and when you expose that to them so they can begin to recognize that, what is the next step that you take them to start in that process of eliminating that autopilot, because it runs on autopilot, of the self-sabotaging, of pulling the rug out from under yourself? Is it a belief? Is it a doubt? Is it a fear? Is it an insecurity? What is it? And how do you work on getting past that?
It's actually all of the above, right? Those emotions create anxiety. The fear creates the anxiety and the stress, and the anger creates the anxiety and the stress, where we just deplete our energy field totally, and we just feel that we can't move anymore. We're stuck. But when you start to look at where you stuck and why did that belief start, so going into that finite place of that inner child or that shadow, if you want to get really deep into the fragments of you, into those little bitty files of the information that you have inserted in your mind, because children are not born sabotaging, they're not born angry or sad. They're born with the purpose to love. And we need to find our passionate purpose so we can love us. In order to do that, you want to start to find out, where do you quit? Where do you no longer commit to you? Or have you never committed to you? So finding those beliefs. And that's through counseling, that's through talking, that's through the modalities of some energy work and just diving deep into that, maybe doing some psychic surgery or using some intuitive ability, some writing. A lot of it's just really automatic writing. What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Why do you feel this way? Why do you hate you? Or why do you feel depressed when somebody tries to give you a compliment and you're like, no, 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 I'm not really that pretty, ha, 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 and you shun it away. Where did you start that? So in the way, way back machine of when you started, where did this start? So we can clear it, because it's part of you. It's part of you, and it's okay. You want to take that little old program, dust it off, and just put it in the backside. You want to learn from your mistakes. You want to learn from your experiences. You want to learn and understand and grow, but you don't want to feel that pain and anger and resentment. So it's a lot of taking that out and detaching and looking at you. So it's the theory of relativity. Where are you relative to the problem? And where are you relative to the solution? So when you stop and watch yourself and you're looking outside, oh, okay. Because we're so good and we're so clever when we watch a movie. Oh, that person's so fat. Oh, that person's too thin. Or, oh, that person should have never taken a right turn. Oh, that person should have never taken that job. They weren't qualified for it. Well, why did they take the job in the first place? We're so good at dictating other people's lives. We don't look at ours.
Right, exactly.
It's really detaching from that. In order to transform at a cellular level, you have to kind of clear all that junk out of the closet, take all that baggage out, and look at it. Do you need it? No? Okay, donate it or put it somewhere else. Right? Get rid of it, clear it, let it go. Cut the cords to those relationships you no longer have, because as you grow and prosper, are you willing to move and make that change? And sometimes that's the hard part. We get all ready, we start to succeed, we dress ourselves up, we get our new shoes, or we get a really good computer to work at home, or to get on Zoom, a great camera. But there's a point where we stop and we don't go any further. And what is really going on in our head? What are we telling ourselves? What's that monkey mind saying? You can't go any further. Well, why? You need to define that. You need to define that, just like you define your why to move forward into your passionate purpose. Why? And it's that discovery part and that magical part, when you discover what stops you and truly define it. Was it something in your, probably in your childhood between 7 and 9, right? Maybe let's say 8 years old. What stopped you? What was the program that was set in your mind that doesn't open you up to receive the bounties of the universe? Why do you feel you're not good enough? You have to start to define that, and you can move forward. It's not that it's difficult, it's that it's hard. It's hard to progress. It's hard to say, you know what, I love myself enough, and I have faith in myself enough, and trust in myself enough to do good.
Ew, wow. And that old brain chatter just kind of gets overwhelming sometimes, right? And just starts playing this story. And we have to recognize that the stories are the stories that we made from the belief that we used to have, right? And so beginning to recognize where is it that I have to make that shifting. You made a comment about being the solution and being the problem, right? So you have to know what game are you playing with yourself, right? Because if you're going to be part of the solution, obviously you must be part of the problem. So it's recognizing whichever direction you want to recognize first, but they kind of go hand in hand. And you you so hit it when you said we are so busy telling everyone else how to live their like what they should do and shouldn't do and all these judgment calls. But what about the judgment calls we make on ourselves, right? And so if we get really busy and wrapped up in trying to tell everybody else what to do, we forget about ourselves. And so, but we have a good excuse because we're busy taking care of everyone else. You know what? Nobody else wants you to take care of them because nobody wants to be told what to do. Think about it. Put yourself in that position. Do you want to be told what to do? This little girl doesn't, right?
You're not the boss of me.
Exactly. And that kind of starts at this very, very early age, like from between one and two, all of a sudden they start to get their own little mind and they're determined that, hey, this is mine and you're not going to get it, right? So we go through life that way. And, to be able to begin to recognize those things, but you shared some really, really great information here on how to recognize and how to really listen to the chatter going on in the brain, and then again getting out of your way, so that you can actually begin to recognize, where the journey has to begin in overcoming, right? This overcoming the self-sabotage and the other connections that come with it, all the other emotions. I'd like you to kind of tap on something with this word blame, right? And how that plays in conjunction with sabotaging.
Well, absolutely. You have to be accountable. You have to stop blaming because you're blaming everybody else and you're shaming yourself.
Oh, say that right? Again. Say that again. Yeah.
You are blaming everybody else and you're shaming yourself.
Wow.
Constantly, are we not? Because, my husband didn't wake me to get up early enough for my call. Well, why didn't you set your alarm? Right?
Right.
You could have done, take an extra step to say, I'm going to set my alarm because I'm not used to getting up at 9 o'clock for these new classes that I have on Zoom. But my husband usually gets up by 7, so he'll wake me up. That's the day he's going to sleep in late. And then now it's his fault. But once you stop arguing with him, then you go in somewhere else and you start feeling the shame, the guilt of, I didn't make it. Nobody's going to like me. I'm never going to be able to do it again. I can't take the class later. I can't, Everything starts attacking. You attack yourself. And then other people attack you. Once you're in that energy, it spins like a snowball down the hill. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it catches just such velocity and momentum down the hill because you open yourself up. Because when you shame and you blame, your energy is low. And everybody around you, their energy is low. And now you're bickering and fighting. And it's just a craziness, right? But instead, if you set your alarm, you got your Zoom coat on or your Zoom shirt on, and of course your PJs on the other end, right? So your comfy slippers and your nice cup of coffee. You program your coffee pot the night before. You put out your clothes the day before. You make sure you have, if you're doing it at home on your table, you make sure you have your table clear. You make sure you have your equipment ready to go. Don't overanalyze. What do you really need? Not what you want. What do you need? Go from there. And then the next day it's easier. And then the next day there's less stuff. There's less clutter because you know exactly what you need. You know exactly what you're going to wear. You know exactly where your seat is, where your computer needs to be, how it needs to be set up. And most importantly, you take yourself off mute.
There you go.
Right? But But you want to set yourself up for success and not for failure. If you're constantly at Murphy's Law, whatever you tell yourself you can't do, you won't do. Whatever you tell yourself you can do, right? You will do, you will succeed at. It's what you tell your mind. And it takes time. It's not going to just be like, boom. I wish it was. You could just, I dream a genie. Boom.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to work at it. And that's why you need a coach, because when you have a coach and a mentor, you can say, hey, look, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I got up early. I got to my class. Wednesday, I slept in. I kept it off, and I just couldn't bring myself to sit in front of the camera and talk to people. And that's okay, because you're recognizing and you're acknowledging. You're recognizing the situation. You're acknowledging how you're feeling, right? And you're ready to overcome it. But that's in that breakthrough moment. You're just struggling because you're used to the old. And it's like two magnets. It's the polarity, old and new. And you're trying to separate from that and detach from that old mold. But now that you know that, now that you have somebody to reach out and they can say, okay, well, what were you feeling? What brought you here? You need somebody that understands. You need somebody that can tell you. You need to get out of your head and stop penalizing yourself and feeling guilty and distraught for it, and say, you know what? I need some help. What can I do to set myself up? I fell in this low point. I feel like I failed, but how do I bring it back? And that's okay. Once you accept that is going on and you start to work with somebody that can help you and assist you, and sometimes hold your hand a little bit and tell you it's okay. We need that sometimes. And bring you along the path and say, hey, you know what? This is how you go back to this path, because we diverted a little bit. We took a detour. We do that. The hardest part I had with winning and committing and moving forward and breaking through was that I didn't know I could try it again. You know, I didn't know that I didn't have to recreate myself, because I always thought I had to recreate myself and try it again. I could be that same person. I can belong to the same group, and I can get on the next day and say, you know what? I had a little bit of a hiccup right here, and I'm ready to move forward with this. And that's okay, because you can be forgiven, and you've got to forgive yourself first. It's huge. It's huge. You've got to forgive yourself. And if you can forgive yourself, then you can move forward. People will start forgiving you. And as you succeed and you change and you transform, people transform with you and around you. And it's just magical.
Yeah, magical. That's a great word for it. You know, as you were speaking, what I'm getting loud and clear is get yourself an accountability partner, right?
Yeah.
And just let that, just bare your soul happens here, right? And that's one of the things we have to learn is to quit judging ourselves and quit judging others. So with an accountability partner, correct me if I'm incorrect with this, but as an accountability partner, you can just share everything that you did that prior day, or what you didn't do because of what you had laid out, to accomplish that day. And then the accountability partner can do their thing, not laying judgments. And it's like, all right, that's okay. So now you know where you are, and it's all right to be in that space. What is it you're going to do today? Because yesterday's gone. So what are you going to do for today? And then we'll discuss that tomorrow, right?
Huge.
And move on, because it's okay to recognize that maybe you didn't do everything, because you know what? Things happen throughout the day, and you reach a point and say, oh, the heck with this. I don't want to do it, right? And now you're making choices, and it does boil down to choices. So, Nicole, why don't you share a little bit about what these choices are when it comes to, sabotaging yourself or not sabotaging yourself? Because, again, we have these choices and how we are responsible. And, again, we talk about that accountability. Is choice really all about? And for those choices,
being responsible for you, understanding that it's you. It's all about you. Whichever way you decide to go, the choice is yours, right? That is your free will to make that choice. And how and what situation are you in? And how can you get out of that, right? So how do you solve your problem? And you bring to the table your solutions. It happens in the business world. It happens in security and law enforcement. It happens in the angelic realm, in the spiritual work, and the coaching. It's the same thing. When you have a problem, you start to kind of piece together a few solutions. Okay, well, if I'm driving down the road, I can go straight, I can go left, or I can go right. Okay, that's the first thing that you recognize. Then the second thing you recognize is, if I turn left, what choice have I made and where am I going? If I go straight or if I go right, where am I going? So then you want to really write down again, you want comes to your mind, because usually that first thought is the truest, authentic, naked truth, right?
Right.
And you write it down. Here's where I want to be. And if I take this, if I make this choice, what do I get out of it? If I get up every day and I drink water and I put lemon in it, and I drink a good water, or a nice bottled water or a filtered water or what have you. So let's just start with water and lemon. That's a choice. And if you go into taking your water, then at when it's an hour or two later, when you think about it, you are making a choice to either A, go in the kitchen and get a glass of water with some lemon, or B, have a crisis over it. And we've all done it. I've done it. So there's no judgment. What I'm saying is, are you going to feel bad? Are you going to shame yourself? Are you going to feel guilt? So guilty that you won't even go near the kitchen. You won't even go near a glass, and you won't go near the water. Because you feel that you have failed. But you tell yourself, you know what? Instead of making that choice of that sadness over not having drinking, missing the hour or two of drinking water, now I can go and I can drink my water. Now I've recognized that I can change. When we do that, it happens. Put a schedule down. What do you need to accomplish in that day? Simple things. What do you need to accomplish in that day? Understand, what do you do throughout your day? Start writing out. 9 o'clock, I'm here. I'm getting out of bed. I'm getting ready for work. 10 o'clock, I'm at work. But what do you do if you start to be late? If you're late every day, what are you doing that causes you to be late? You want to write that down. Be honest with yourself. When you say you don't get anything done, you don't have time to get anything done for 3 hours of your life, are you sitting on a couch? Are you fretting around the house? Or are you actually trying to cross simple things off your list, make it simple for your life? Start to see where you can kind of clean up and polish it a little bit, right? You can make that informed decision. You want to understand why you're making a decision. When you start to become conscious of your decisions, you start to become more conscious of other things, and you can become aware and you can recognize things. Now you're in your joy. Now you can be happy because you're like, oh, I got this, no problem. This is easy. So if you start with one simple thing and you develop that habit, then you can move on to the next. It's when we throw so much at ourselves that we're just like, whoa, I just want to give up. I'm done. I'm going to shut the door to that and not do that again. Let yourself know that you are going to declare to be powerful, that you're going to declare to be worthy. You're going to declare to be an entrepreneur. You are declaring that. It's not a maybe. You are I am. It is the I am. It is you. So be empowered with those decisions. And if it's okay, give yourself the grace to, I made this decision. I was strong with it. I went into it. I took this energetic decision. But you know what? It's just not working out. That's okay. You're not quitting. That is not quitting. You have already tried. It didn't work. And now you move on to something else. Just didn't work. Now I'm going to go do something else. Don't trouble yourself so much that you can't achieve, that you didn't try, that you didn't make progression, because even if that situation didn't work out or that choice didn't work out, you learned something there. You grew, you learned, you gained knowledge and experience here. So now you can take that to the next lesson.
Yeah, the choice, you can change choices in the middle of a choice. Like you said, if things aren't quite rolling in the avenue, in the direction to the outcome, it's not about just trying to plow through it when you know it's going to a dead end. It's beginning to recognize that and then make the conscious choice in the center of that choice to go left instead of right if you need to, right? Because so that's the journey, and that's the fun of the journey and the learning, right? Is to be able to make consistent choices and to be aware of following things and know you are the one that is in charge of your choices. Just because you made a statement that this was the choice in the direction you're going doesn't mean you have to go until you fall off the cliff. It means you go until things start, maybe slowing down or not moving fast enough, or it's time to make the switch, right?
Yeah.
Just think about it. We wouldn't have the light bulb.
Exactly.
If the person would have given up.
Well, that's it.
What,
Absolutely.
1,001 times? He didn't say, oh, well, yeah, it didn't work. No, I said, I just found that many ways that didn't work. But now I found the one that did. So what is the one choice that you're making for yourself to work? And everything you've shared here today is so precious and so deep when it comes to really understanding. 1, we have choices. 2, we become accountable. 3, we take our own responsibilities, right? And 4, don't be the judge and the sabotager of your downfalls. But be what? Be the asset for you to rise up out of the phoenix and to be that shining star that each and one of you already are, right?
Huge, huge. And you need to leap into that destiny. Once you've recognized that that choice is yours, and once you've established your goals and your mindset, now you can leap into that beautiful desire of thinking and feeling and being enriched by your goal.
Right.
And that's how you focus on it. What does it feel like? What color is it? What does it taste like? What are you wearing? Just really get into that imagination. Wow, this is the car I'd be driving down to my new office. Here's the suit I'd be wearing. I look so smart in it. Here's how I'd wear my hair, and here's the desk I would have, and here's the conversation I would have with the clients I bring into the office. Here's the way I'll recognize my employees for doing good work. Just really leap into that. What does that mean? If you take that business on and that entrepreneurship, how are you going to reward yourself? How are you going to celebrate? And every time I reach a milestone, I really want to celebrate myself. I do that every year at the beginning of the year. Gratitude, the attitude of gratitude. I'm going to celebrate. And how does that feel? Because it's every moment of it is a celebration.
Right.
Take yourself out to dinner, go to a spa day, go for a walk. What makes you happy and enjoy, but make sure you state that you are in gratitude and you are celebrating that you've reached that milestone, that you've accomplished that goal, and really feel into it. Just leap into that.
Wow. This has been such a power hour here. Oh my goodness. I could just keep on listening to you forever. But Nicole, we've got to shut this down, right? And if people want to find out more to be able to be a part of all the things that you offer and do you have an offer for them, or how can they reach you? What's the next step for them to continue their journey with you by their side?
Well, they can find me at sabotagesmasher.com. That's sabotagesmasher.com. If you go ahead and subscribe to that, you're going to get this enriching newsletter that I'm putting out, especially for this wonderful summit, on how to change your mindset, on how to have a successful day. You're also going to get for free my ebook, Conquer the Imposter, and that's going to help you enrich yourself as well, something that you can take with you from this journey and this moment and this summit. Also, just book a discovery call with me. And you can find my information on sabotagesmasher.com. And we can sit and we can craft a plan on how to change your life, how to transform you.
Cool. I put up a phone number for them that they can text you, right? To get information. So just put in your name, your email address, and what it is that you'd love to talk with Nicole about, and set a time. She's here to help you reach out and help you become what? The best sabotage smasher out there, right?
That's right. Just smash it.
Just smash it. So moving into 2021, the best thing to do is to leave everything else behind. No regrets, and move forward, right?
No regrets.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Nicole. And we look forward to the rest of the speakers on this great summit. And Nicole has actually been the leader of this summit. She is so special, putting this together to help everyone out there on their journey to becoming that best sabotage smasher ever, and become the success in the essence, in the individuality, and let that spirit shine through, right?
That's right. Let it sparkle. Thank you, Beverly.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everyone.